Hello and welcome to the Painters Guild, a very interesting show where we are going to take an artistic journey together. We are going to hopefully go from neophyte, like me, to, let's not say master, but at least maybe something that's passable. Our very first guest teacher is none other than probably, arguably, the best and most famous DM in the history of Dungeons & Dragons, and a wonderful painter. In his own right, I am very lucky to call him my friend. Mr. Matthew Mercer is here.
Yay!
To teach. Nobody's clapping, by the way. It's okay. Yay!
There we go.
To teach me the basics, because there are a whole lot of different steps, apparently, to turning one of these little guys into an absolute work of art. I have had one experience with a mini, so everybody can know kind of where I'm starting, my level, if you will. As you notice, that's magic marker. Yeah, again, you'll see the picture. That actually took me an hour or two. Well, they say that every journey starts with a single step, so here we are. What is the first step that needs to be taken? Because I gotta be honest, I want to jump in and I want to paint.
Okay, well, before we even get to that, what we're going to be painting today are a model referred to as the Dark Young from the game Mansions of Madness.
Okay.
Mansions of Madness is one of my favorite board games, and the minis are really, really cool, great detail. It's Lovecraft themed, and these creatures here are rather ghastly with their tri-mouth and tentacle mass and elephant-like stalk legs. It's a horrible, slimy tree creature.
And also just really intricate detail you can see even before anything's been painted.
Correct, yeah. Before you even get to painting, before you even get to priming anything, one of the first steps you want to look at, because each one of these plastic models, and a lot of the pewter ones, depending on where you get them, they have what's called mold lines or flash.
Okay.
And so what it is the molds that they have to piece together to create these things end up creating these lines along the plastic. If you look right there, you can see like where the legs are, and along some of the tentacles and the feet, you'll see these little thin lines.
Sure, like these right here.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where the molds meet.
Okay.
And it creates these tiny little ridges where if you just prime it now, it'll look fine, but when you paint it, you'll see those ridges come through the paint as well.
Okay.
And flash is where some of the edges of the mold have little openings, and so like right here on the knee of my model, you can see this little like burst, this little spur of plastic.
Oh yeah, I see a couple of those as well.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we have these X-Acto knives, and so we're gonna scan through.
Just amazed, we were talking before, amazed I haven't already hurt myself, and it's just been sitting on the table. So we're getting into it now. Let's see what happens.
Well, now I'm excited. I'm
excited to see what happens here. So what exactly are we gonna be doing with these mold lines and or flash?
So just very gently, you're gonna find where these mold lines are, or any of these spurs, and just take the X-Acto knife and trim them off. Just a little gentle trim.
Now, my question is, again, how is one able to find and recognize the difference between those and something that's supposed to be on the model?
That's kind of up to your interpretation.
Ooh,
Usually if you...
Because there's bumps here, but these are obviously part of the actual model.
Right. For a creature like this, it might not matter as much, but for other models, it's a little more...
trial and error?
Well, trial and error, I would say it's a little easier to see where those may be.
Okay.
And it may not, but if you run your finger over it, generally, the areas where the flash is, it'll be a little more sharp and a little more rough, and it'll feel just out of the ordinary.
Like that right there. And
yeah, or like right there underneath, you put your finger over it.
Right there, yeah. This area. Gotcha,
it doesn't quite belong. So
you scrape down along this line here?
Yep, you scrape the line off, and see where's the knee part that I had there. You just go ahead and gently remove those bits of extra plastic, and you can use your finger to scrape off elements that are partially ready to go. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough where you don't have these.
Good, because we're glad for that. Interesting.
Just kind of carve it out there.
How old were you when you started doing this stuff?
I was in high school, my senior year of high school. I had just gotten into Fantasy Warhammer and started playing my Skaven army, and decided to start learning how to paint and customize models. And what's cool is because if you look, there are little wrinkles there.
Like on the legs?
Yeah, where now it's smooth. You could even carve in a little bit and try and add those wrinkles back.
Oh yeah, so you're like...
I'm doing a little...
So there's almost a little sculpting action going on as well.
And it just gives a little texture so that as opposed to having this like sudden flat surface, it still blends into the model's design. And it may look a little strange, but once the paint's on, you won't even notice the areas where the lines used to be.
You remember the first model you ever did?
I did. Thanquol was one of the generals of my Skaven army. I was really proud of it, and I look back on it now, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so bad.
Do you still have it?
I do have it.
Do you really? You still have the very first one you ever did? That's
Somewhere
cool.
it's in storage, I think. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty atrocious. But it's where you begin.
I was gonna say, I'm sure it'll be better than this one is today for me.
I don't know about that, man. You may surprise yourself.
I hope so. So what do you do with like a line where you see a line but it's not really raised?
That's fine if the line's there a little bit. The primer will still cover some of that. But like this one that's a little more raised, you still maybe want to scrape across a little bit and just try and...
Now, are you tipping your knife like this, or are you scraping like this?
I'm generally this. You want to tip it down a little bit and scrape that way.
Gotcha. And away from my face.
Yeah, I would recommend that. Probably,
I'm sensing. How many games are you playing right now that involve minis?
I have minis in our D&D game.
Right.
But a lot of these come pre-painted. A War Machine.
Okay.
My Menoth army, and Mercia has her Crix army. So yeah, there's quite a few games that I play that involve minis and to some degree. I've always found the process of working on minis a very zen and...
Well, yeah, that's one of the things you and I were actually talking about before, was kind of almost the meditation aspect of it, which I'm sure is partially destroyed by the fact that we're talking to each other the whole time.
No, it's great. I love it. It's fantastic. Thank you.
But there is kind of a Zen meditation thing to the whole aspect of just losing yourself in any kind of artwork you would imagine, where you can just kind of, for some people, for myself, it's writing, or for other people, it's drawing. And so this is just kind of, you're working with your hands and you let your mind kind of
wander for a while.
Yeah, which is kind of a beautiful way of doing it.
Yeah, my usual painting hours are like 10, 11 p.m. to like 2 a.m. where it's just dark and quiet, put a little music on, and then just lose myself in the painting for a couple hours.
There's a good question for you. What do you listen to when you're doing this?
I think it depends on what I'm painting. I tend to tailor it to what's there. Like for a creature like this, I want it to be like low and creepy. I'll put on like some soundtrack music, some Stephen King.
So you will literally soundtrack your painting experience.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I think it informs the color scheme and the kind of mood I'm going for. If it's like for my Menoth army, which is more, metal and kind of like righteous religion destruction, generally go a little more metal for those, yeah.
So just pop on some Hatebreed and all of a sudden you got your...
Yeah. You're good to go.
Nice.
Like, you will be just or you will be destroyed, non-believers.
So do you name your guys as you're painting?
I mean, they're usually named when I get them, but I haven't thought of them. Why do you want to name your guy?
I do. Well, there's one name that's been popping in my head because he's got the 3 mouths, and for some reason I just keep thinking Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. from Newhart. Just I'm Larry, this is Daryl, and this is my other brother Daryl. Yeah, it just keeps sticking in my head. So it also makes him less scary. Because I think he's just misunderstood, frankly.
Yeah.
That's the problem with a lot of minis that are so horrible and like they kind of look like demons, is I'm guessing someone hasn't just sat down and talked to them.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him Fran, because I think
nice.
I think it would have kind of a similar sound to Fran Drescher if it came at you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I could see Fran Drescher.
Yeah, like Gilbert Gottfried also. Maybe one each mouth. You have a voice to each mouth.
Oh my God! You roll a 20. Like that, yeah.
Youngster wants to say hello.
Oh, that would be that's a funny board game. You just got Fran Drescher and Gilbert Gottfried coming after you, and you just good luck. It's like fighting Grog when he's raging.
I love this.
God, I love that.
We'll develop this. We'll get it with Ivan.
We'll talk about that show later.
It's called Cover Your Ears.
Nice. Just all the strangely kind of voiced people. That's great.
All right, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with the lines and flash on mine for a painting. Let's go have a look at yours, actually.
Yeah, okay, because I think I did some, right? And I think I did. And you have a lot more stuff underneath your thing, which leads me to believe I didn't take enough stuff off.
Nah, yours is just concentrated.
All right.
Don't hurt yourself with the blade.
I'm doing my best. I'm putting it down so as not to play with it.
No, this is good. All right, got rid of the line there. Yeah, the lines are pretty smooth. Cool, you carved out the area there pretty well, and you actually went in there and carved some of the lines.
I tried. That's what you said to do.
You did good.
Okay.
That's good. So yeah, what you do is for any of these fine lines here, you'd get in there with a very fine grit sandpaper and just like smooth over with your thumb to kind of bring it down a bit if you wanted to.
That makes sense. But not to, you want to do it so it doesn't take too much off though, right?
Right. Just faintly to bring it kind of even or to blend it in. You could also get a small square of sandpaper, like about the size of a postage stamp or a little bigger, and roll it up very, very fine to be this small tube. Or fold it in places and then kind of use it as a wedge sand to kind of, you can actually sand the wrinkles back into it if anything doesn't quite match.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Takes a little more time, but if you're like a real big perfectionist, it helps you kind of get that smooth look on it.
That's Larry.
This is Larry.
That's Larry. You can tell.
Looks pretty solid, man. I like it.
Okay.
I think you're pretty much ready for priming.
So priming is our next step.
Yeah, I mean, and I've done this. I've made this mistake before, and I've seen a lot of people that have made the mistake as well, where you're like, oh, my model's ready to go. Throw paint on it. And some models and plastic takes it better than others, but a lot of paint doesn't take to just generally, especially if it's a smooth plastic, based on what it's made out of. And pewter especially, that paint's gonna come right off.
Oh, it's like wood. It's like wood and stain then, where you really got to get in there and grit it up. Okay.
Yeah, like I have minis I've painted before when I was like much younger, like small toys and stuff, where it just looks awful. It looks like you colored it with a marker.
Oh, hey. That seems like somehow that was an insult. But that's all right.
It's all good. There are different ways you could prime. Most common would be spray primer you can get, and you can get the larger kind, but they tend to get a bit thicker. If you want for miniatures, to make sure the detail's there are miniature brand primers that you can
specifically
find
for the miniature.
for small details.
Okay.
Essentially, that you can go for like hobby stores or game stores that provide paints and stuff for miniature painting. And what you do then is you take this outside and you can put it in a cardboard box. Make sure it's a well ventilated. Make sure it's a well ventilated area.
We were huffing paint before, which is why he's having trouble doing.
A well ventilated area. Make sure you put box or papers down so you don't end up,
blasting
anything in the area.
Right.
And keep a good foot or more distance from whatever you're painting, and you just spray one side, let it dry, turn over until you get every angle of it prime and ready to go. We're not going to do that today because we're indoors, and that would be kind of bad and dangerous.
Tiny little area, so let's make sure that we stay safe out there. And we don't do that here, which would be good.
So we're going to do hand priming instead, which means we have we're going to start black and white are the options here. And how this works is with black primer, the colors tend to be a little darker and muted, whereas the white primer, things tend to be a little bit brighter in the final product, and the colors a little more popping. What do you want to paint your guy? You want to be like kind of brighter or darker?
Why don't I go with brighter, just because he'll be the happy-go-lucky. It's Larry, Daryl. We already talked about this.
All right.
So I'll go the nice white one, and you go the nice black one. Now, a stupid question.
Yeah.
Are white and black the only ways to go? I mean,
No.
could you do is there a gray, that kind of thing?
I've used gray primer in a lot of things if you want just kind of a mid-tone area.
Okay.
If you're painting large-scale models that don't require a whole lot of detail, you could even just base coat with the color you want for most of
okay, that makes
whether
sense.
it's like an army type, painting scenario, you could even prime with the general color of your army and then just detail around that too.
Okay, that makes sense.
So then that's up to you entirely. But
And
for
this
purposes
is
today, we'll do these.
An absolutely necessary step, you're saying. This is not, don't skip the priming
I would
phase.
recommend not skipping the priming phase.
Because this would be the first thing I would have skipped. Is the priming. No, I take that back. This is the second thing we've done. This would have been the second thing I would have skipped. I would have first skipped, taking off all the flash, which apparently was very important. And then I would, again, no talent at this whatsoever. So the first two important things are the first two things I would have skipped. So it's good to know that to do it right, you got to go step by step by step. So here we go. We're on step 2.
So first, shake up your primer. Make sure that it's nice and ready to go. Make sure it's closed before you shake
I
it.
was just checking. You never saw Bob Ross with just stuff all over. And oh, look at that. I got red all over my shirt. You never heard that.
No, I mean, not who's on camera.
Okay.
All right, so that's there. I'm going to get you a priming brush. Now, you want to make sure you don't use your detailed brushes for this. Priming brushes...
Stupid question. What's the difference between a priming brush and a detailed brush? Is it just size?
Size generally, and possibly cost. Priming
really?
brushes,
Okay.
You're just trying to get it on the model. It doesn't have to be, super perfect. You're just trying to cover it with as much of the primer as possible. So you want to get something that's a little... here, we'll start with you on that one.
Okay.
And I'll go with this one here. Sweet. This is more of a dry brush here. There we go. I'll do this one.
It's so soft.
Isn't it though? Yeah.
I just want to do this all day.
Well,
I won't because it's creepy, but...
So what you do is you go ahead and take your primer.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and unscrew the top there.
Alrighty. Shook it up.
And now?
Okay, it's bubbly. Hey.
Ooh.
Sorry. I get distracted really easily.
I can tell. So you just get a nice little dip in there.
Okay.
And begin to apply the primer to the model. And even if it globs on there a lot, and you're like, oh God, I'm missing detail. Just spread it out.
Now my paint is all bubbly. Does that matter?
It's a little thinner. Just make sure you keep spreading it out.
Okay.
Best that you can.
Everywhere, coating
everywhere.
everything.
Yeah, every nook and cranny. Making sure that all the details are touched with primer on one level or another. And from one solid dip, you can get a fair.
I
amount
noticed
of
that.
it, yeah.
I figured I didn't think we had this much paint on there, primer on there.
And it's okay if it's a little watery. Like I know the water one's a little thinner than the black that I'm using, or the white one is a little thinner than the black I'm using. But that's okay because it's more there as a place for the paint to adhere to.
Now, if I go and I buy a paintbrush kit to do all this stuff, will a primer brush be in there with it?
It won't be called a primer brush necessarily, but
it won't. Okay.
It's just a thicker, bigger brush that you can use to get the details that you can kind of go a little
thicker,
crazy
bigger,
with.
probably cheaper brush.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And also make sure, best to your ability, any brushes that you intend to use multiple times, keep a small receptacle filled with water to wash between any painting to soak, because otherwise your brushes are going to get a little destroyed over time.
Good to know. And you could do it regular water, doesn't have to be alcohol?
Correct.
Now, how long does this normally, so this is step 2. How long does this normally take to dry? Meaning, if I want to, hey, it's Saturday morning, I want to paint a mini from start to finish.
Right.
Am I looking at an hour process? Am I looking at a 5-hour process?
Depends on how big the mini is.
Okay.
And how much experience you have. I mean, the primers have different drying times. If you're doing a spray primer, it'll tell you on the actual can, like, what the recommended dry time is.
Okay.
If it's and also the weather. If you're looking at dry outside. If it's a dry, warm day, it can be ready in 5 minutes to paint.
Really?
Sometimes, yeah, depending on the primer. So you want to pay attention to that, and you can generally get a feel for it by touching it throughout the drying process and feel if it's still tacky or not.
That makes sense.
Don't apply too much at any given point in time, or it will run. It'll clump and drip, and then you really lose detail.
About. Trying not to freak Larry and Daryl out with too much paint. There comes a point where, now here's the thing, I can't touch it anymore. So how do I hold on to the damn thing to finish the little spots?
What you can do is you can leave that to dry for a bit, and then come back to
patience.
This is true. Or, now since this guy's a tripod, you can just kind of paint around where he's standing.
I'm going to have to do that, yeah. There's still a little handle left.
Yeah.
But then you come and you paint the handle last.
Exactly. And then you just let it dry. Like I said, you can, if you're impatient, well, that's a bit of an issue.
Right.
But at that point, you would just kind of walk away for a bit. Maybe start picking out the colors you want for it.
Okay, find my moment of zen if I can.
Yeah.
Now, okay, as somebody new to this world, let's say this kind of model right here, this exact one we're working on, the paints, the brushes we're looking for, the primer. What am I looking at cost-wise to start a hobby like this?
I mean, the paints, general hobby paints can run you anywhere from $2.50 to $5 for a single bottle of a color.
Okay.
But you can get them cheaper if you get them in bulk, and sometimes you can buy packages that are just like whole spreads, and you get them at a pretty decent discount at that point. But a lot of hobby stores, they'll have like a full spread, and you can just handpick a few colors you want to work from, and you can mix them, or you can just buy them kind of the in-between colors as well if you want to have them individually packaged. They usually sell brushes, so I'd say I'd recommend if you're going to buy a brush, or a couple brushes at least, get a detail brush and a dry brush. Those are the very, very basics.
Okay.
And then if you're going to hand prime, get a thicker brush to do that.
Okay.
So cheap prices, you can get them maybe like $5 for all 3 brushes, depending on where you get it.
So $25-$30, you're in and you're painting.
Yeah.
You got your mini and you're good to go.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not too bad. Again, that's especially in this day and age where a video game is $60 or $70.
Exactly.
Okay, so how does this one look? Because I think I'm relatively covered-ish.
Yeah, actually.
I mean, you don't have to get every little nook and cranny. Like, I mean, I could go back and get a couple little spots.
Yeah, you can always change later, but you got pretty good coverage on that, actually. Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's, again, because there's no finesse. I just have to make it was gray. I have to turn it into white.
Yeah.
Okay, so that I can kind of do that. So great, let's paint.
Now we get to wait while it dries, and we'll get to painting on the next episode.
This whole patience thing is going to be a problem for me. That's fine.
You'll learn.
I know. Well, let's quickly recap what we learned here on our very first episode of the Painters Guild. So we know that first you pick your mini, then we find our mold lines.
Mold lines in flash, which you remove via either an X-Acto knife or very, very fine-grained sandpaper.
Okay, very, 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 that's step 1, which as much as I would like to have skipped, we could not. Step 2, which I also would like to have skipped, which we could not, is now priming. We've learned that you can prime a number of different colors. The darkers are gonna make kind of the model a little more sinister, a little cooler in a way.
The colors will be a little more dampened.
And a little, if you prime white, it's going to be a little brighter. It's going to pop a little more with some of the brighter colors and go from there. Now we let it dry, and I get to learn what steps 3 and 4 are.
Indeed, and don't forget, when you're done...
Oh, what my brush. See?
Wash your brush.
I got to wash my brush. Wash your brushes, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so that's it for our very first episode. We're going to come back, and luckily we're going to have Mr. Mercer here with us again for episode 2. We are going to find out what we got to do next. So we appreciate you joining us on this journey, and just remember that every great work of art started with a single paint stroke.